F. Some people have mentioned it. What the F? So
You have to abbreviate everything to shorter versions of the names.
so what is it? It's well, wait. Does anyone want to field this?
It's an effect.
Is it?
Debate?
So one's a type and one's a kind, right? Is that right? Or am I getting that back? Or
One's a type and one's a kind. What do you mean?
effect is already a thing in PureScript.
Oh, well, it's I guess a type constructor.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Cool. So so like you can say what effects you think your procedure that's going to be running in the wild will need. So you might have like a DOM effect, or you might have like a HTTP effect, or I don't know, whatever effects you need, a locale grabbing effect, or whatever you need, right? And that's the brunt of what this data types give you to. But like, it's not really pure, so you can't actually use it, right? You just you sort of describe what you want to do, and then like from the other side of the boat, the JavaScript side, somebody runs that F, and then the procedure is executed, right? But you can't do that in PureScript, although that's actually a lie because you can't do it in PureScript. But you shouldn't do it in PureScript. So you basically just describe some procedure that you want to have happen, or like a subroutine, or whatever name you want to give it. But it's like it's like a function that you run and it has side effects, maybe, or maybe it doesn't. Yeah, and it's just a nullary function, right? So if you export it from your module, and then from the JavaScript side you try to use this F, all you get back is a nullary function. So if you a function with no arguments. So just like function parentheses. Yeah. So all you do is just invoke it, and then it runs the function. It runs the procedure, does the effects.
And you said that we don't run it in PureScript, it's a JavaScript runs it.
Yeah.
How does it know when to run it?
When you run it.
Okay.
So like if you have a main that's an F, then you have to call main.
From JavaScript.
Mm-hmm. So like you node index.js, and then like there's a main dot, or main parentheses.
Yeah. Like the roots to the beginning.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Does it return undefined, the function?
I'm sorry?
Does it return undefined?
I don't actually know the answer to that.
Probably.
Anybody know? Or does it give you back the value that you...
It's for side effect.
There's only one way to find out.
There's a couple ways.
Value of the second, yeah,
It gives you the value of the F?
of the second type of that.
Okay. So like there's F, the effects that you want, and then the value. Okay. So when you run the F, you get back that value. Okay. Is that whose question? Cool. So, okay, we can try to do this. Hopefully it'll go kind of quick. I don't want to take all the time. We haven't gotten to any halogen yet. I don't want to take all the time. But like, let's just do it. Let's just do it real quick. Okay, so we're going to make a LogPrice function that gives you back an F. And the F is going to log to the console or something. Does that seem fair? Sort of like what you would do in JavaScript. You just say console.log, and then it does its thing. Yeah? All right, let's do it. So we're going to make ourselves a log price. So what are we doing? Price is a number, yeah? Yeah. So we're going to take in a number, and we're going to return an F that has access to console effects. And we can talk about the syntax in just a second. I want to get it out real quick. And it returns unit. So what this is saying here is it's saying, give me a number and I'll give you back a procedure or a subroutine that may do something with the console effects, and then eventually returns unit, which is just like one value thing, like a. I think it's an empty record or an empty object. Say again?
It's like a void, like nothing.
Ooh. No, okay, so that's like an overloaded term because there is void in PureScript, and it's not void like void that you're talking about. It's a different kind of void, and like unit is, I don't know, whatever.
So are you talking like data constructor void or a function void?
Yeah, see, exactly. It's
There
just
is actually both.
17 overloads. Anyway, the point is, it's just, it doesn't matter. We don't care what the value is. It's unit, whatever. So we take a number, we return a procedure, a subroutine, that when you execute it, when you run the subroutine, it might do something with the console, and then eventually you get out a unit value.
What is the E?
Yes, great. So this syntax here, this little circular thing, this parens thing, where you have this one identifier label thing, and then like a type dealie, and then like this thing. So what this is saying is that this is this whole parenthesized expression is a row, and one field of this row is console, and its effect is the console effect, which we actually haven't implemented anywhere. But that's what it's saying. So like, it needs to at least have that one effect. And then the pipe here says that it can also have whatever E is. So it can have other effects. So, and the E is parameter, polymorphic over, let's, okay. So what this means is that like, you can use LogPrice in a larger scope as long as that larger scope has console, and it doesn't matter what other effects it has, right? Whereas if we had that, then what this would say is that the only place you can use LogPrice is where the only thing you can do is console. So like if you have one LogPrice and then you have like a locale function, and the locale function uses like the DOM effect, and this one uses the console effect, with this code, you can't combine those together because the rows won't match up.
So that allows us to use other effects.
Yes, exactly. As long as we have console, we can use it anywhere we have that, at least.
And the pipe is like in the semantic or?
No, it's
Like cons.
yeah, kinda.
Like cons,
Like where E is like the
like
tail.
academy?
Yeah, it's everything else. It's just a syntactic thing. Does that make sense? Any other questions? Or what are the other questions?
Yeah, like a list con.
Console and all the rest.
Yeah.
Head and tail.
Cool. So I mean, like we could also specify that, like, you know, maybe we actually do want HTTP effects, right? And like we just need permissions to do these effects. We don't necessarily need to do either of them, but we're just saying like we could do console, we could do HTTP, but we need at least those two permissions, right? So whatever effects you put in the row are the things that you can actually do. Somebody had a question? No? No. Okay.
What's the unit?
It's a data type with one value.
Oh, okay.
You don't care about it. It just means don't worry about it.
It's like void, but
Oh,
it can't infect everything else.
I remember. Okay.
What's the difference between void? What did you say?
So unit is, there's nothing here to worry about, but unlike in Java or JavaScript or anything else, it can't infect the rest of your program, where you can just have it randomly pop up places you don't expect, because it's a distinct type. You always know if you have unit.
Same as color unit here.
Yeah.
Well, except Scala likes to implicitly say, oh, you ended with a value and your return type is unit, that's fine, I'll just coerce it to unit.
Which exactly misses the point. according to
Cool.
the set.
So log is a function. You know what? Let's look at it. Where is that? Where does that live? Where's my mouse? Where is log? Right here. So it takes a string. Oh, that's the wrong log. Don't look at that one. We'll get to that in a minute. So this one takes a string and gives you back an F where you have some console effect and maybe any other effects, right? And gives you back the unit. This is almost exactly what we want, right? The problem is we have an int or a number, I don't know, and we need it to be a string, right? So we can just do that. We can just convert it right over, but we can also like...
Is that a built-in, or is it?
Yeah, we're gonna have to import that. Actually install the library, I think.
Yeah.
Right, so if we show the price, that becomes a string, append it to this other string called log. Yeah? No?
I said yeah.
Oh, okay. So we're gonna need two things. We're gonna need control dot monad dot f, where we get f, and we need control monad f console and log. Also, there's easier ways to do this. I don't have the thing set up properly, so I'm sorry for that. Oh, we don't need anything. It's some other transitive dependency. Great, cool.
Why didn't you put the log in brackets instead of just putting
Say again?
the log? You used it as brackets. Why?
Here or here?
Down the bottom.
Yeah. So log has one argument that's a string. So we need to pass the string in. If we leave off the parens, then the precedence makes the append cause it to be log of that string, and then you try to append another string on it. So you'd be trying to append an f console unit to a string, which doesn't work.
This is the precedence of the operator.
Yeah.
But you have dollar though, right? An operator?
Yeah. Okay, so that works, but
He's figured it out. Just keep moving.
oh, we're not
Yeah.
exporting that. Where are we here? Cool. So we're exporting LogPrice. So we could use it in the thing, right? But let's look and see what LogPrice is. Oh, this isn't going to be helpful. Well, takes a thing, gives you back a log. That's not helpful at all because it doesn't show you like the structure of what it is. But like this f thing is going to be just a function that we need to invoke, and then we're good to go. Still don't know if any of this is making sense. But we can go to our product thing here and import log price and log price with price. And then remember, this returns an f, so we have to invoke this. Does that make sense? We have to run the procedure in order for it to actually do something. I can't tell if this is trivial or mind-blowing. Are we okay? Or? So hopefully we get the logs for these things. Let's see. Can we do it without all this crap? What is this? Whatever. So it logs each of those things, and then if we do like add one to a cart, we can see that it logs all those things again. And it's logging them all because each one is getting each one of the things is getting invoked again because they're like changing or something. But yeah, did that make sense? Was that just like really easy and I thought it was gonna be harder? Yeah.
What's the advantage of doing it that way as opposed to just like logging it?
This isn't PureScript. What's the advantage of doing that way? Well, I mean, in this case, there is no advantage, right? It's just a lot of hullabaloo in order to do a console log.
Demonstrating F.
Yeah. So like,
What's another use case of F other than logging?
yeah, a lot of things.
Okay.
So like, what else can you do with F? You can do like HTTP requests.
Okay.
You can look up locales for a date. You can do things in the DOM, like pulling off, finding the body in the DOM is something that's considered an F.
Can we do that?
Seriously?
That seems more useful.
It's kind of where we're heading next, I think.
Okay, yeah.
It actually is pretty close. But yeah, so I don't know. Did that answer your question? It's not useful in this case, but it's more like,
This is
can we figure out how to use it? Yeah,
Yeah.
in the simple case. Are you good?
Well, 1 second, please.
Sure. Bless you.
Oh, I see. So are the extra parens, so you go back over to the JS. So this is the part about the extra pair of parens.
Oh, at the end here? Yeah. Okay, let's do this. Let's throw the old debugger in here, and let's look at what we actually get. I don't know what's happening there. So here we are, right? We should have LogPrice. I don't know why that is. Let's do this. Okay, do we have logger now? Cool. So this actually shows what the implementation is because it's been optimized. And so, whatever. So logger was this thing where we called LogPrice with the price, right? So this is the f that we get back. And this is a pure value that we can pass around and do whatever, and nothing happens when we pass it around. But this is the actual implementation of logger, which is that it's a function where we call console.log on whatever this s is, and then it returns unit, right?
That's how you run it, though.
Yeah. So if we do logger price is that, we get our unit back, and we can do it as many times as you want. What's up?
Missed that part.
Which one went? Oh, it's not really useful. I was just trying to explain or answer this question. Okay. Any other questions? Cool. So anyway, that's F. Seems complex. Maybe it's not that complex. But like, the point is, you can't really use it in PureScript unless you're, I mean, you can, but don't. And the common use case is to do it from JavaScript. So like, if you have a main function, like if you set up a big program that does a bunch of stuff and like sets up like a web server and all this other junk, then like you probably have like a main at the end that does the wiring. Well, that's usually going to be like an F, and then like from JavaScript, you just call main and invoke it. Yeah?
Why is it like that in PureScript, but in Haskell IO, you have to do that? Your main is IO.
Because PureScript, well, let me not speak for the whole language, but like my understanding is that it's not trying to be like a separate language all on its own that you just use in isolation. It's trying to be like a better JavaScript that you use with JavaScript. So rather than like trying to hide away a bunch of stuff and make sure that you can only do it a certain way, it says like it's just JavaScript and you can just use it how you would normally use it. Does that make sense? I'm not saying one's better or worse, but that's the reasoning as I understand it. Yeah, that was F. Okay, let's move on.
Hero was being all excited.
That's coming soon. So there's a bunch of different types. I mean, maybe we should have covered this in the PSCI part. There's like primitive types that are always available. They're like baked into the language. So you've got number, int, boolean, string, array, char, probably some other things. And that's just life, right? And then there's records, which I don't think we've seen any of. but they're like an object in JavaScript. And like the way that you would write a record. Excuse me.
You said like an object. Do they, trivially is probably the wrong word, do they directly interop with JavaScript objects?
Yeah. Actually, that's probably easier. Let's just do that. So if you have like this thing, and you have like a bar field, that's this integer, then if we look at the compiled code, then that's just what we get. Just a plain JavaScript object. Nothing really fancy, but that's the implementation. There's more fanciness with like the type of records because it falls under the same idea of this row thing, right? Instead of being a row of effects, now you have a row of types. So you might have like a function foo. We're going to change this. So foo is going to take like a record, or let's say it takes a bar, that's an int, right? And it gives you back an int, right? So we can just say obj.bar, right? And then compiles blah 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 blah, right? But like this type here specifies that you must pass in a record with exactly a bar field and nothing else, right?
So it's not doing substructural typing, it's just structural match on the type.
Ooh, I don't know what those words mean.
To put it another way, so TypeScript will, for example, take anything that includes this type as like this map as part of it.
Uh-huh.
Flow will do that by default, but also lets you specify an exact type. And this is more like the flow exact type. It can have no more fields, it can have no fewer fields.
Sure.
Not like the TypeScript type.
Sure.
Yeah.
But we can make it like the TypeScript type
Right.
by saying that the record must have a bar field and any other, yeah. So now we could pass in anything. I mean, the compiled code looks the exact same, but like we can call foo with a record that has more than that field, and all we need to do is make sure it's got a bar, and then we're good to go, right? So this is sort of similar to the row effects, but now it's like row types, and same deals happens there, and that's basically records. Tagged unions.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, some people call them sum types. Sure. So a sum is like foo, and then there's you have your different cases, right? So it can be like a bar, it can be, goodness gracious. Yes, I love it. It can be a quux. Quux can have an int, right? Who said it couldn't? You can have a whoop, right? Maybe this is a function from string to foo. Why not? Right? Who cares? So you're just saying that the foo data type has these three different cases. And so this is how we do the thing with maybe, right? Maybe is defined as a sum type, where one case is nothing, the other is just, that's polymorphic over the value. Oh, it doesn't matter. What's your favorite word?
Oh, just
Gil?
So
It's a Gil now.
types?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just define the different, like, okay, we can get real JavaScripty and define our maybe, right? And this is none and some, okay, right? Does that make sense? Nope. Also nope. I feel like there's no questions you guys are having on any of this stuff. I mean, some, but not really. We kind of covered type alias. The important part is that it's like, it's just a name. It doesn't give you any sort of like type distinction. So if you have like, type other maybe, which is just a maybe under the hood, there's no difference between having an other maybe and having a regular maybe. So like, it's not really helpful for the compiler to be able to tell if you're using it correctly or incorrectly. It's helpful for you as a person. So I think somebody mentioned that they would have like, as names, first would be a string, and then last would be a string, right? So this is really helpful for you as a person to look at, and then when you see a function,
It's all like new types.
yeah, exactly.
But if you check the type of one of those,
Do you get back
instances,
first or
you get
string?
string.
Yeah.
So if you had a function that took a first and a last and concatenated them, and you passed in a last and a first instead of the other way around, would it give you an error or?
No, it'd say nothing about it.
Can you do that using data constructors, assuming you do it?
Yeah, you can.
Can you do what?
It's just like one ahead of you right now.
So
Get a compiler error for. Yeah, so you have to use a data.
you know what? Let's do that. Let's make that explicit, because I think I'm doing a lot of hand waving because it sounds simple, but I don't know if it actually is. So we just say first, last, and then Bill, good, is full name, Bill, with, why not? So, oh goodness, the inferred type of Bill was string, the value that, what? What did I do wrong, you guys?
It's a more successful.
Oh, no type declaration. Okay, cool, whatever. So, Bill is a string, right? Warning gone, good, cool. So, yeah, there's no, and I mean, we can be more explicit and say like, Bill first is a first, and Bill first equals Bill, and do the same thing for his last name, whatever, right? But the point is that if we, oh wait, I said I was going to make it explicit. What is going on? There we go. So if we call full name with Bill first and Bill last, compiles, doesn't have a problem. But if we call Bill last and Bill first, also compiles, doesn't have a problem. But that's not good, right? We did the wrong thing there. So what they were suggesting is that instead of using a type alias, this probably isn't going to work out well. We use a data type, right? So first name is just a first name that underneath is a string, right? And then last name is a data type, a sum type, where the last name is a string. And then if we say full name safe, why not? So we take a first name and a last name and give you back a string. So here, first name, last name, first, last, right? Compiles, good to go. If we,
Why the extra type?
It's not as destructuring,
Oh, thank you. Good.
right?
you guys are in simpatico. What was that? Why the
Yeah, I
what?
was asking why you had first name first, as if I was reading it as a type declaration, but it's not. It's destructuring the argument passed in, so you can just use first and last instead of
Right.
having to destructure it within the body of the function.
Yeah. Ooh, that's good. Good catch. So I guess we can make like Bill first safe. It's a first name. I mean, this is kind of boring, right?
No.
No? Good.
What's the convention with safe and unsafe?
There is no convention. I just made this up on the fly.
Oh, that's all
But
I saved earlier.
I didn't want to have to. I didn't want to comment it out.
Oh,
I could.
see.
You could comment it out and then use the same
Yeah.
names.
There's no space, so it's not that stuff.
So this is the last name. Was that it? Right, and then we can say bill safe, which is a string, I guess. Why not?
Start it. It's a start.
Good Lord. Bill safe. Full name safe. We call bill first safe. Bill last safe. And that's fine, right? But if we did that, then we get this error, right? We tried to pass in a last name when we needed a first name, and vice versa. Does that make sense? Does that answer the question? Whose question? Cool. But you actually mentioned new types, right? So there's, there's like a, oh, yeah, go for it. Maybe we can look at the generated code here and see what we get. Right, so,
Okay,
what's up?
my water bottle in there.
Oh,
Is that reachable?
As long as you can do it. Nice. Killing it, bro.
Don't interrupt.
no, it's fine. So, last name creates all this stuff, right? It makes like the constructor function and then like this create function that's like a helper and then does all this nonsense, right? And if you had more of the cases, it would have more of those things. And similar for first name. But like, also because I don't want to comment out code, you can do what's called a new type. So first name, new type, why not? And this is very similar to what we've got for the data, right? But the difference between these two things is that a tag union, a sum type, can have multiple different cases. A new type can only have one case, and it can only be with one value, right? So we can say like first name, and then like as a string and a bool, right? And that's valid. But we can't say that here. That's not valid, right? Well, there's multiple problems here, but it's not important. The important part is like this won't compile. They'll tell you it won't compile, and that's life, right? But let's also get this thing to be a real thing. So this should compile again. Yeah, cool. So why would you want to have this new type thing, right? The idea is that under the hood, first name new type doesn't need to be like a function that constructs the whole thing. It doesn't need to like go through the whole process of making this function object, calling new on it, allocating memory, and then all that stuff, right? It should just be effectively nothing, right? So instead of having, like you can look at, yeah, exactly. So as soon as this is compiled, most of the overhead goes away, right? There's still a little bit of overhead in the definition, just because of the way that things work when you use it. But if we, okay, I am gonna start commenting things out. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. No, I'm not. That's stupid. Okay, what we're gonna do instead is we're just gonna make another function that's like get first. Why not? Oh, that's well called. Get first. So this is gonna take a first name new type and give you back a string, right? So get first takes this first name new type, and gives you back the underlying string, right? And then when we call it, so let's say, I feel like I'm using that too much. Let's say this is a string. So we're going to call get first with first name new type of bar. That should compile fine. And when we look at the generated code here, get first just does the implementation. That's not really a good thing. Let's say we do this. We say the first name is, right? So now we have some sort of implementation here. So get first just uses the string underlying. It doesn't do any sort of like the implementation of that get first name or that first name new type is cleared away when it's compiled. And when we use what was it, bar? Is that what we called it? When we use bar, there's no first name new type on anything, right? It just calls it with the underlying thing. So like when you use this new type, all that type information is washed away at runtime, but it still exists at compile time, so you can't use it improperly like you can use with a type alias. Does that make sense? So it's like a type alias for a human, but nothing for the, wait, that's not right. But a data type for the compiler? I don't know. That's a bad analogy. Is that bad? Yeah. Okay, cool.
Is there any reason why you just want the specialization of the data type?
On data? Oh, yeah. There
Why
was,
have the keyword like
yeah, like if there was a data that had only one case.
yeah.
There was a discussion about that a couple of years back, but I don't know what the yeah.
We had an argument about whether we could get rid of.
And we can?
One particular code gen, so just adding a constructor would change your representation of runtime, which would stop interrupt with each other.
Okay. There's your answer. Does this all make sense? Cool. Types of polymorphic, we touched on this. What's up? We're done? Like for the day?
No.
I mean, that's fine.
It's with you.
Yeah, right. Had enough of my horse shit. Okay. Is this it? Is this the one? He's not even paying attention.
Finally. I was explaining it to him because he was distracted.
We just did our Halogen while you were done.
Ah!
So we missed it. Go back to React.
No!
All right. So what is halogen? And I'll open the floor again. Anybody want to tackle? Okay, that's fine.
It's a declarative type safe UI library for PureScript. Obviously.
That's beautiful. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So the idea is that like the components are self-contained. They have their own state. They do the re-rendering that they want. It tries to separate states into components. I can't just say the same thing 12 times.
The self-contained components with their own state, is that totally analogy to the React set components? Is their own internal state?
Yeah. No?
You ask me?
Yeah, it'd be like React without like reloads, right? You would just set state on a component internally where you know some foo state for some component that wasn't.
So you do have set state in the component development?
It's not set state, but it'd be equivalent. I mean, something equivalent to that, yeah. Like where the component would have its own internal state.
Basically, yeah.
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Would that, is that scalable? Like it just sounds like,
Well,
that sounds like a nightmare to me.
That's what we're trying to figure out. I mean, Slam Data does it, so apparently, the problem that we found is once you're 5 and 6 components deep, and we'll get to it, but like you end up having to raise this notion of like raising the, you know, this query or not query, the like eval part of the state back up. We just kind of, you know, like before Redux, we just kind of propagated all of the state up the tree, and it's kind of the same, the same problem. So looking at how do you do that?
Yeah, I feel like part of the problem with having to deal with state in JavaScript is that there's nothing really checking that you're doing it right. You know, that you didn't do something wrong or called it in the wrong spot. And from the little bit that I've used, it seems like Halogen has that more under control. But I totally defer to you guys. So.
And just one more question before we dive in. Like if I would like to have a state that is mutual to several components, for instance, let's just say I have an Ajax call, okay? Which I don't want to do twice, one component and the other. I would like to go Ajax, get the data, and get the component. How would I do that? Now, with React, you have things like a container, or I don't know how you call it, like something that just only brings state. How would you call it? Like, how would you do that in Halogen? Is that clear?
Yeah, your question is very clear. It's also very complex. Can I give you?
That's why I'm here, to be honest. That's like, if there's any good solution for that composability issue, it would be good. I still haven't figured it out. So,
I feel like I'm not going to give you an answer you want then, which is that I don't know. I feel like it depends a lot on like how you're actually doing it. I don't know that there's like a universal pattern for that to just always work out of the box for every problem that you have. You know what I mean?
Freedom
And like,
solves everything.
well, there you go. Why did we go this far? But like, maybe there is. I don't know.
I mean, before Redux, what we do is share state gets propagated up the tree. So if you've got two components that share state, the state is, the share state is resolved in the immediate parent, and so you would compose in the same way. So if you have two components that need the state, resolve the state above it, right? And that state is passed in the components.
yeah, but what I would like is something like, recompose. Does anyone here know recompose? Like, what it does, it's replacing the set state as a composition of state over the component. So I thought maybe Halogen looks like that. Like, it could do function composition.
Yeah. I mean, so here's the thing: is that like, it might also depend on like what you're really trying to do. Because I only sort of understand what you just asked. But like, that sort of thing could be something that's not solved in Halogen, per se, but it's solved in like a type class that we use all the time, right? It might just be applicative, does what you want it to do. And like, you don't need Halogen to do that for you. You can just use the components in an applicative fashion, right? I don't really understand fully what your question is, but like, maybe Monad does it for you, maybe Traversable does it for you, but like, the underlying idea doesn't necessarily need to be solved in Halogen if there's another way to do it that's agnostic of like the implementation of Halogen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, but I just thought
So, Halogen's not pretty named about this at all. You get to choose how you want to do this, or you can totally have a component that spans the two and holds the state for the individual type components. You can also use it through the effects, like the monad that all the Halogen components run in. So you can have a mutual reference or like a future or something, and it gets filled the first time that query runs, and then the other components run effectful against that thing and check if it's there, and if it's there, they use that. So it's not opinionated in that regard.
Does that make sense?
it does.
You sound disappointed.
No.
I'm sorry.
You sounded like you wanted to do the vanity thing, which not to do, point different components as some piece of the state.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary, is that it's not opinionated about lots of stuff, but about some things. So, like, what?
I was just thinking that right there is like a sentence to sum up the difference between PureScript's approach and HelmScript's approach in one sentence. Because Elm would never ever use the phrase query algebra. That's not a good thing or a bad thing. It was just.
I mean, I can change it to some type. If you want.
I read it instead as mangled by
I did that too.
That too. But I mean, that's all that this is, right? We call it a query algebra because that's a slightly more descriptive name, but it's just a sum type, right? Sum type with certain characteristics. That's all it is. So there's actions that change state. So okay, let's see something like this, right? Oof, don't do that. This file is getting out of control. So what's a query algebra, right? It's a data type that's polymorphic over some value. And so maybe the action that we want is to toggle something, right? Like we've got a button that we're trying to implement, right? So the action is just toggle. And then you have to have this A thing on the end. We'll try to get into why that is. But like, there's your query algebra, right? Not so bad. And then requests do the other thing, which is that they give you back some information. So like they also can do state things, but like the important part is that they give you back information about the state, right? So another thing that we could do if we were dealing with buttons is like ask, is the button on, right? And so this is a request, and you would hopefully give back a Boolean to the person that asked, right? And so this is the pattern for a request query, or is that the right word? I don't know. But that's the pattern for the request. This is the pattern for the...
What is it? What is on? How do you query the state is on?
That's it's a wild question. So I think to answer that, we'd have to start implementing it, and then it might make sense. But like, the names aren't important here, right? It's how you evaluate the names, right? So this is similar to Redux, where you say what the different actions are that you want, and like the payloads of each of those actions, and then like you handle it.
Why is the Boolean in the first argument there?
Because of the way that query algebras work in Halogen, is just kind of how you have to do it.
Is this secretly like a free monad pattern?
Yeah. But to your to your point, I think you call it free monad, and it's like,
People are like,
so like only you reacted to query algebra, but if I had free monad,
yeah, free monad, yeah.
That was completely reasonable. I get it entirely.
And query algebra didn't bother me, but it was notable.
I think we shouldn't be so afraid of actually using the right names.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's kind of
I like this guy.
dumbing down everything.
I just like to make sure that when we do that, we do it with a lot of defining and saying why the terms matter. And like we were talking earlier, a little letting people get there and then giving them a name for what they're doing. Because I know a lot of times when I talk to people about functional programming, especially type functional programming and category theory and all of that, people are just like, monad, functor, blah! And I'm like, well, these terms are useful, but you don't have any reason to understand how or why they're useful, so they just seem like gibberish to you. Let's use query algebra, I like it. I just thought it was a funny moment.
Alright, the kind of the reason why I'm in the JavaScript workshop is that because I'm kind of tired of the dumbing down that Elm does, so I'm kind of like a place where people actually talk.
I should have mentioned that sooner. We could have gone. We could have been talking about pro functors, dude. Everybody loves those.
Lenses.